United Nations Middle East envoy has said a way forward is urgently needed to the al-Aqsa mosque compound crisis in Jerusalem al Quds. After briefing the UN Security Council behind closed doors, Nickolay Mladenov told reporters the situation threatens to have potentially catastrophic costs well beyond the walls of the old city. He believes it's extremely important a solution to the current crisis is found.
The compound, known to Muslims as the Nobel Sanctuary and to Jews as Temple Mount, is located in the occupied East Jerusalem district. It was seized by Israel in 1967 during the Six-Day War and later annexed in a move never recognized by the international community. The United Nations are not the only ones raising concerns. The impact on the public has been violent and damaging. Both sides have suffered injuries and death, and street clashes with Israeli forces in Jerusalem's al Quds area, together with alleged stabbing attacks at the West Bank settlement, have served to further increase the tensions. So far, there is very little sign of this anger and violence calming down on the part of the Israelis or the Palestinians.
How well or badly has Israel treated the Palestinians? And how far will Muslim countries go in order to deal with Israel's actions? Simple questions with important answers. Now let's start with this. What do people think Israel has in store for the Al-Aqsa Mosque? We put that to the public in Palestine. Here's what they told us.
We know that Israel's greed is endless. It's not enough to partially control the mosque. From the beginning of the conflict, it seeks to completely control it. They know there is no value for Israel without building their temple and erasing the Islamic site from al Quds.
These are barbaric acts, but we are used to it as Palestinians. We reached to the level that seeing these actions of field executions, arrests, became routine acts.
Israel's plan has failed. They were trying to isolate the Al-Aqsa Mosque and control all the gates surrounding it. It wanted to be in control of those who desired to enter it, to allow settlers to raid at any time. It failed because of the worshippers, and the people of al Quds deserve all respect.
It's an old new plan. They want to divide the Al-Aqsa Mosque. They want to impose a spatial and sequential division, the same as what happened to the Al-Haram al-Ibrahimi in Al-Khalil. And inshallah, they will not succeed.
The Judaization of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Israel has wanted to Judaize the mosque since its occupation. They want to hide the Muslims' holy sites by the claimed temple.
The plan is not something new. It's since before the Balfour Declaration, when the Israelis occupied our lands. They burned the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Sharon entered the Al-Aqsa. Netanyahu and his regime issues illegal and aggressive laws against Palestinians. The Al-Aqsa Mosque is ours and is for the Palestinians.
The plan is for the Judaization of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. They claim that they have their third temple built there, and this is why they want to control it.
They are used to attacking the Al-Aqsa Mosque. They have a plan to demolish the Al-Aqsa Mosque. They believe that the Al-Aqsa is built above the Solomon Temple. Historical facts have never proved their claims.
It seems that Israel wants to spatially and temporarily divide the Al-Aqsa, as what happened to the al-Ibrahimi Mosque. All the Palestinians must be united to prevent the Israeli plan.
They want to take control of the Al-Aqsa Mosque and build a temple instead, and preventing the entry of any Muslims to enter the mosque.
The plan is clear: to temporarily and spatially divide the mosque through the Israeli measures adopted so long ago.
The plan is to spatially and temporarily divide the mosque and control it to eventually expel the Muslims from the holy city.
Israel thinks that through these measures it would be the first step to imposing a special division to the Al-Aqsa, just as happened to the Al-Haram and Al-Ibrahimi in 1994. If this move succeeded, we would have been facing a clear Judaization, not only of the Al-Quds city, but to the Al-Aqsa Mosque as well.
The plan was imposing a temporary and spatial division of the Al-Aqsa Mosque and weakening the Waqf control on the site to embolden the Israeli police presence.
What does the Palestinian public think about the ways in which the Israelis have treated Palestinians and Al-Aqsa Mosque in recent times?
Their condemnation will not affect in any way the Palestinian cause.
Israel, since the occupation, is an aggressive entity, a military entity that violates all human rights and carries out violence to silence the Palestinians who demand to get their legal rights.
After the worshippers entered the Al-Aqsa, Israeli forces were unable to control the people, their wildness escalated, and this is why they continued attacking the worshippers. This has even led to their failure to control and isolate the Al-Aqsa Mosque.
These measures are completely rejected by us and the whole world. It's an Israeli occupation that carries out aggressive practices. It will come to an end, inshallah, depending on our steadfastness. Mainly the people of Al-Quds, who prove they will be able to grab our rights through proper unity and around the Al-Quds references and leadership.
They use different forms of oppression, forcing the people from their homes, terrifying the people, arrests, campaigns, all this to kill the people's determination to defend the Al-Aqsa.
These practices were used because we live under occupation and the occupier will do what they want.
What the Israelis do is barbaric and brutal. Their acts are only done by mafias and gangs and not only by the so-called regime.
These are ugly practices. They install gates and cameras, they shoot at the people, carry out daily arrests, they attack the worshippers and the murabitun. It's not something new, and they burned it in the past.
The Israeli occupation believes that the brutality in attacking the worshippers and the Palestinians would terrify them and keep them away from the Al-Aqsa Mosque. They failed even through the practices to attack the journalists.
The practices were always very aggressive. There was always excessive use of force against the worshippers and attempts to intimidate the Palestinians not to enter the Al-Aqsa Mosque.
The main aim is to divide the mosque and then to completely control it. The practices by the Israeli military and its police through pressuring the worshippers, sealing of the gates, searched, more restrictions on the people and the businesses in the old town. These factors negatively affect the visitors and the worshippers.
The plan is to spatially and temporarily divide the mosque and control it to expel the Muslims from the holy city.
Israel, in the 50 years it's been carrying out restrictions on the Palestinians and the Al-Aqsa Mosque, until the last stage, we have seen in the recent 3 years an increase of the settlers' aggression and their raids into the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Moreover, the settlers, politicians and Knesset members have been leading these raids. In the last 2 weeks, the Israeli authorities have widened their grip on the Al-Aqsa Mosque.
In the past, despite the clear plans, however, Israel has been considering the sensitivity of the site and has always coordinated any action after informing Jordan or the Waqf. This time, Israel tried to impose more facts on the ground and test the waters before any future plans.
Many Muslim-majority countries have condemned Israel regarding its treatment of Al-Aqsa Mosque. But does the Palestinian public think those countries will go further than rhetoric and take action against Israel?
It's normal that the Palestinian cause has been forgotten since 1948.
After occupying Al-Aqsa Mosque for over 7 decades now, condemnations become not enough. Their position is shameful. After the occupation and desecration of our holy site, the Arab and the Muslims should have a greater role to defend the Al-Aqsa Mosque and defend their holy sites.
These are formal condemnations. Israel has already coordinated all of its measures with its allies and their supporters, from the gates to the metal detectors. We have never heard from the Arabs but condemnation. The Arabs are conspirators against the Palestinian cause. With time passing, we will not even hear any condemnations either.
The Arab countries were only issuing shy condemnations. We do not count on Arab countries' position. We are not waiting for anything from them. We count on the people's position.
All Arab countries are Israel's allies in one way or another. They claim they are with us, but they are not. They only make addresses and speeches.
They condemn the Israeli practices in Al-Aqsa. However, they also condemn the anti-Israeli operations. They also condemn the resistance.
The Arab countries will never adopt any measures to support the Palestinian cause. If they wanted to take steps, this was supposed to happen a long time ago.
I didn't hear any condemnations. They said that King Suleiman and King Abdullah intervened. However, there has not been a strong enough position to defend the Al-Aqsa. Some Saudis even said they will not support the Al-Aqsa, regardless that it's the Muslims' third holiest site.
The Arab countries won't do anything more than condemnations. However, we hope there would be at least an Arab summit or a meeting at the United Nations. Unfortunately, nothing more than condemnations and statements.
The Palestinians do not expect anything from the Arab countries. Even if they condemn the Aqsa or not, nothing would affect the Al-Aqsa Mosque.
If there was anything more than condemnations, the Al-Aqsa Mosque would have been liberated. These condemnations are just to lift the blame.
We hope these condemnations from Arab countries will translate into actions on the ground and will remain ink on the paper.
This confrontation clarified that the Arab action was of a fairly low level in facing the Israeli measures. The Arab foreign ministers have decided to convene after the crisis came to an end. The condemnations were not enough. We need actions to face the Israeli regime, whether imposing economic pressures or taking measures on international levels to pressurize the Israeli regime, not only for the Al-Aqsa Mosque, but to end its occupation of the Palestinian territories.
Unfortunately, the Arab and Islamic position was weaker than expected, and this is because of Trump's policy and the Confederate with these countries, and Israel today is considered part of it, and they were keen not to strain relations with Israel.
According to the Red Crescent charity, in just a few days in July, Israel's use of live rounds and rubber bullets wounded 390 Palestinians. Of those, at least 100 were hospitalized. In addition, it is reported that at least 4 Palestinians were killed, leading to a further escalation of the violence.
With the wars raging in the Muslim world, do Palestinians feel their country has been forgotten? And that might be why Israel is taking these actions now.
These wars between the Arab brothers encourage Israel to extend its hand for more aggression, oppression, more occupation and settlement activity. The occupation of our lands is the cheapest in the world. It's shameful the Arab Muslim world is not united by the plight of Al-Aqsa. The Al-Aqsa belongs to billions of Muslims, not the Palestinians alone.
We should continue to protest at the Al-Aqsa until we purify Palestine.
Palestine's cause won't be forgotten because its people always work for it. We are not waiting anything in return from the Arabs or others. We ourselves are able to defend ourselves and our hometown. Imagine if the people of the West Bank were able to enter al Quds. There would have been more pressure. We do not count on the Arabs or others.
The Israeli regime tried to control the Al-Aqsa through electric gates, especially knowing the whole region is facing a war. It thought it was the perfect timing for this plan. The majority of the Arab countries are busy with their problems. In Qatar and elsewhere, it retreated because of the Palestinian steadfastness and the popular uprising that pressured the Israelis to end and remove the military measures.
Palestine has never been forgotten. It's the nation's honour. We're defending the honour of a whole nation. Al-Aqsa is our barometer. If it's freed, the whole nation would be free.
Palestine will never be forgotten. The Al-Aqsa Mosque will never be forgotten. It's one of our Prophet's holiest sites.
Palestinians have never been forgotten. It exists, we are alive, struggling and resisting the Israeli occupation. The Arabs know everything, but they insist to ignore our cause. They show sympathy to the Jews. Many do this because of the Holocaust.
What the so-called Arab Spring did, the destruction to Syria and Iraq, it's been used by Israel to pursue its plans.
The Palestinian cause is today at the sidelines of the Arab schedule. There's the Syrian cause and the Iraqi cause, more important today. They do not care about our cause now.
When anything happens to the Al-Aqsa, we see the Arab and international media focusing on the mosque. It proves that the Al-Aqsa Mosque remains the axis of the conflict. When the situation calms there, the situation calms in the Arab world.
The Al-Aqsa Mosque exists in the people's hearts. However, what goes on in the region and following the so-called Arab Spring has taken the people away from what goes on at the Al-Aqsa Mosque.
Of course, what goes on in the Arab world has put the Palestinian cause on the back seat. There are more important issues for the Arab world. However, the cause of Al-Aqsa and Palestine should always be a major priority.
The priorities of the Arab and Islamic states have changed in recent years. Today, the destruction in Syria and before it in Iraq and the Yemen and Libya and the terrorism here or there in Arab countries, the Arab conflict has created a state of not concentrating on the Palestinian cause. The priorities have changed lately, although the Palestinian cause has always been the major cause for the Arab and Islamic world.
For the Arab people, the Palestinian cause remains the number one. However, the Arab regimes, and because of the chaos prevailing in the region and the complicated relations with the US and Israel, unfortunately the Palestinian cause has retreated, and Israel now is not an enemy for a number of these great Arab countries.
What can be done to protect Al-Aqsa Mosque? We asked the Palestinian public.
The Al-Aqsa Mosque is in the heart of each Muslim and Arab. All of us Muslims, Arabs and Palestinians can do a lot more to be united, to pressurize the Israeli, to end occupation, and anyone supporting occupation to end its oppressive practice and the desecrating of the Muslim holy sites.
The most important thing is to remain stationed at the Al-Aqsa Mosque. All forms of resistance are required, including the popular resistance. However, the political issues and the negotiations have proved its failure. 20 years and the situation has worsened.
We should keep the situation that we've reached in the al Quds. We should not return to the day before 14th of July. Whenever the Israeli forces try to impose more plans, they will know that the Palestinian people in al Quds, West Bank, Gaza and the lands occupied in 1948 would face up and defend against them.
All of us should remain steadfast around the Al-Aqsa and inside it.
The Palestinians will never leave the Al-Aqsa Mosque alone. They will resist the Israeli occupation, its measures and its plans.
There should be clear unity among the Palestinians. The leadership should file cases against Israel in the United Nations to maintain the religious and heritage site.
Palestinians should also file cases at the UN against Israel. There are UN resolutions needed to be activated, as well as these related to the Al-Aqsa Mosque.
We need from the Arabs to liberate the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and of course today there is no hope in them. But when there are countries liberated from their own fascist regimes, then inshallah there'll be a solution for the Al-Aqsa. Unity amongst the Palestinian people is required. In 2000, Palestinians were united, Fatah and Hamas together, working for the Palestinian cause.
Every Palestinian must put the Al-Aqsa Mosque in front of his eyes. The least thing to do should be done, such as keeping the images of the mosque in every Palestinian home, raising the kids to protect and defend the Al-Aqsa Mosque. This would help to have public outreach to the mosque from inside occupied territories.
Al-Rabit, which means in Arabic to remain steadfast.
What's needed today is a strengthening of the steadfastness of the residents of al-Quds on the ground, and not through statements or decisions in different summits here and there. We have not found the support to protect the residents of al-Quds and strengthening them to face the Israeli aggressive measures, and also to protect the Al-Aqsa Mosque. This is why these states are required to act and not to say words.
The first thing needed to preserve this popular momentum today is leadership devoted to the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is the Waqf. As a reference, the Waqf will lead and depend on the trust given to it by the people in al-Quds to maintain the Al-Aqsa and face the Israeli plans.
Arab League chief Ahmed Abul Gheit has accused Israel of playing with fire with the new security measures at the mosque. Meanwhile, Turkish President Erdogan called the restrictions introduced by Israel at the mosque an insult to the Muslim world.
Israel may try to expand its occupation of Palestine by taking over the Al-Aqsa Mosque. But our investigation suggests this won't work for one simple reason: the Palestinians will resist. The harder Israel tries to control access to the mosque, the stronger that resistance seems to become. And, as we have seen, that leads to injury and death on both sides of this troubled divide.